So growing up, I didn't really have any kind of interest in playing the Spyro series. They always kind of seemed a bit to me. So when I started dating this one, she made me play Spyro Year of the Dragon.
So this is always one of my favorite games as a kid, and when I started dating Wood, I got really excited because we could finally bond over a game, except for that he'd never played it.
So I borrowed this copy of Spyro from Chris, so thank you Chris, I guess. And now we're gonna review it. Now, for the sake of actually reviewing a game on this channel for once, we're going to break this Spyro game down and see what makes it tick, for better or for worse. To help me out is Tiffany, because she's actually much better at this game than I am.
You just suck at it.
Yeah. Alrighty then, Spyro Year of the Dragon, developed by Insomniac Games, was released in the year 2000, which is, yep, the Year of the Dragon. Good one, Insomniac.
The opening scene shows Bianca, who's this rabbit chickie thing, stealing all the dragon eggs. And so the rest of the dragons wake up and they find all their eggs have been stolen. And after this cheetah guy fails to do the one thing the cheetahs do, they're gonna send Spyro and Hunter to get the eggs back because they're the only ones who can fit down the little holes that she used.
Look, I'm gonna level with you guys. If you're looking for a rich, complex story, it ain't here. This is as basic as it gets. In fact, we should just sum up the story now and get on with the rest of the review. Evil baddie steals dragon eggs, she wants to hurt the dragon, Spyro has to go get the eggs back and kill the baddie. That is literally it. But it's not a negative in any way, it's just a cute little dragon action-adventure platformer game, so who gives a flying dragon about the story anyway? So that being said, let's move on from that and just review the actual game.
You meet a lot of other characters along the way, including 5 unlockable characters that you can use in the game for certain levels. You need to buy these from Moneybags, who's this really stingy fat bear. So obviously I don't really like Moneybags, keeps all the animals locked up, and he takes all the gems you've collected as like this little fee for unlocking them. You don't exactly use your gems for anything else, but it's more the principle of the matter. So I think Moneybags is actually the best villain, because even though the sorceress is all like evil, Moneybags is so condescending. He's always just like, oh, you naive little, cute little dragon, just give me all your gems, you don't know any better. And you're like, I know better, I just gotta get the stupid dragon eggs back.
It was definitely more rewarding kicking his ass than it was kicking the actual baddie's ass at the end of the game, so I'd have to agree.
Getting back to the characters though, all the playable and non-playable characters in the game have different accents, some can be really creepy, and others are pretty fun.
Yeah, I particularly like the Australian kangaroo, mostly because she doesn't really sound Australian in the slightest.
Thanks again, Spyro. Now I have to find out what that nasty sorceress has done to my home while I was locked up.
America. Forever enforcing the shrimp on the Barbie Australian stereotype.
Come and say g'day. I'll slip an extra shrimp on the Barbie for you.
It's not how I sound, is it? Oh. Each playable character has different abilities in the game. Some fly, some can whack things harder than others can, and some can just jump higher. Each character has 2 different abilities which come in handy in different ways.
I spend about half the game playing as these other characters, so it's good that they're all pretty interesting. My favorite of them is probably Bentley, but he's so polite, and I'm such a sucker for good manners.
I will gladly help you on your quest, Spyro, but first I must attend to my young sibling.
It's just charming and big and Bentley.
Okay.
His levels are pretty boring. I mean, he mostly just like mashes things and walks around and he can barely hop, but I'm a sucker for good manners. But I found most of the NPC characters to have fun attributes too. That is, except for Hunter. You can play as him for a few missions, he shoots sheep and shit, but he's honestly a little prick.
Just come back if you want some boarding tips from the master.
Yeah, I really don't like that guy very much. He supposedly came along to help you out, but most of the time he just withholds eggs from you until you complete his challenges. Like, come on man, the baddie of this game literally wants to rip the wings off these little baby dragons and kill them, but you won't give me this egg until I complete this sick skateboard trick?
Alright, if you can catch all the lizards without wiping out, and before time runs out, I might be able to scrounge up another egg.
And then there's Spyro. He's by far the most boring character in my opinion. There's nothing you can really say about him. He has barely any dialogue, and when he does talk, he sounds like a bummed out, angsty teenager who does not want to be there.
It was no big deal, dude.
They should have just made him a silent protagonist like Link, where you project your own personality onto the character you're playing with instead of giving him just enough dialogue to have his own character, but that character sucking.
Yeah, sure.
All the other characters definitely have more personality. Even Spyro's sidekick, Sparks the Dragonfly, is clearly happy to be there. Sparks flies around and picks up gems for you as you walk past him. He's a little cutie. I remember when I was a little kid, my sister and I would always mimic what Sparks would say, because on every speedway you come up and he asks you which of the games you'd like to play, and he always says it in the exact same way.
Sparks also acts as your hit counter for the game, changing color every time you take damage. After 3 hits you lose him, which makes it a lot harder to pick up gems. And then a final hit will result in game over.
At least all the characters look adorable, especially in my favorite level, Frozen Altars. Not only do you get to pop these tiny little woolly mammoths, there's also little kitties in cat hockey, and they hang out in your goalpost on this little scratching post and mew around, and it's just really cute. And I think no matter how the game ages, they're still gonna be adorable.
I kind of found it hilarious and extremely sad that the cutest NPCs in the entire game are the ones that you have to slaughter and kill to get hit points back for Sparks. Little sheep, little kiwis, little geckos, all the cutest little animals in the game, you kill them and you get a little butterfly from them, and Sparks eats that butterfly, so you kill a cute thing to get a cute thing, then Sparks kills that cute thing just so Spyro can continue on in his mission.
I've always loved the way Spyro plays. As a kid, it was easy enough to pick up and play. I was never that great at games. I was probably 5 when this game came out, but I was able to finish Spyro with relative ease. But there are definitely some challenging minigames. I still don't have the patience to smash those stupid mushrooms or the stupid blind mice who just want to meander around the whole place with bombs in their hands. I'm just happy those minigames aren't necessary to beat the game.
I'd have to agree for the most part anyway. For a PlayStation 1 game, the controls have aged really well. It's exactly what you'd expect from a platformer, even nowadays. I never even ran across a glitch or any sort of discrepancy that ruined the gameplay for me. I mean, the camera sucks ass, but it's also PS1, so what you gonna do? It's actually still a way better camera than 95% of PlayStation 1 games that I have played. Looking at you, Croc. Speaking of gameplay, you can actually finish the game in about 2 hours if you skip all of the mini games and collectibles and just head straight to the end goal of each level.
But most of the enjoyment from the game comes from collecting everything, 100%ing levels, and completing the side quests. They make collecting everything challenging, but not too challenging that it's impossible without a walkthrough, so it's pretty addictive.
I like that there isn't any kind of HUD clogging up the screen and distracting from the fact that this game is actually quite beautiful. For a PS1 game, the graphics are holding up incredibly well. But I didn't like that it felt like I was beating the same enemies over and over and over, just in different skins. There was the little enemies that you could either fire or ram through, the big enemies you could only breathe fire onto, and the little enemies you could only ram. They all took 1 hit each. It just kind of felt repetitive. I guess there wasn't much they could do considering that every character only had 2 moves. Actually, the whole game felt repetitive after the first world. In the first world, you're exposed to all the elements of the game, the different kinds of racing games, skateboarding games, swimming games, collecting things. Then each level has the same stuff, just with increased difficulty. Even the 4 boss fights felt extremely similar.
They introduce a new playable character though in every homeworld, so that gives the game some new elements as you go along. And I think they mix it up. Some minigames are puzzles, like the level where you plant mushrooms and flowers to get up a hill, or I always thought the slides were really fun. I think there are enough different types of games to keep it interesting. The game does get pretty challenging later on, but you never really get stuck on anything that you need to complete the game. If you lose enough times in the boss levels, it'll just lower the difficulty. So as a kid, I could get to the finish even though I really sucked.
I'll have to admit, at one fight I lost about 5 times in a row, and it made it way easier for me. It angered me that the game had to hold my hand to help me finish it rather than let me learn the pattern or rhythm I needed to beat the level. I didn't feel that rush or satisfaction you get when you finally beat a hard boss. It wasn't even that hard to begin with, but I wasn't granted the joy of beating it, rather I was left disappointed.
So, the music. I mean, it's nothing too exciting, but I can definitely still sing you like 4 or 5 or 10 Spyro songs, and it's always stuck in my head after I turn off the game. But I'm sure a lot of that's definitely nostalgia based.
Yeah, for me the music was the worst part of the game, actually. It's all very that's the only really word you can use to describe it, and what I mean by that is, it's not so bad that you need to play with the sound off so you don't get a headache, and it's certainly not that amazing that you download the soundtrack and listen to it at the gym. It is exactly in the middle. It's so average that I forget it's even there. I can't even recall a single tune from the game. It's just, So for me, I started playing this game with the mindset that I was going to enjoy it. I love adventure platformer games, and I knew that this one was one of the better ones to play. I also knew that it was going to be an easy game, and I was prepared for that too. The first world for me was really great. Straight away I was collecting gems, exploring, meeting the characters. I felt engrossed. Then it slowly started to slip away, and by the time I reached the second world, I just kind of felt done. In saying that, every now and then there was a really fun mini game that I found myself wanting to play and get better at, but for the most part it was a tad too repetitive for me to stay entertained the whole way through.
I think you're just a little bit spoiled with all the fancy games you get to play. I was amazed at how quickly you lost patience and didn't want to play. I still find the game as fun as I did as a kid, but now I have more skill and discipline to actually go through and complete the levels and finally beat all those mini games that I failed miserably at as a child, which is a cool experience for sure.
On the flip side though, once you finish the game, you unlock Sparks' levels, and Sparks' levels are little top-down shooters, which are actually a lot of fun to play. Also, the prospect of going back through the worlds and collecting all the gems and eggs that are remaining excites me a little. I can easily see that becoming addictive enough for me to want to 100% it, which is a real positive for the game.
And if you do end up completing the game, like 100%, you get to unlock the super bonus worlds, which
we didn't do.
But I have done before, and I remember it vaguely being fun and some snowboarding and yetis.
But there's a reward for 100%ing the game, so that's always nice. So Tiffany, all in all, what would you give the game out of 10?
Probably give it a 7 out of 10.
And you know what, I'd probably agree. I wouldn't recommend anyone going out and finding the game and playing it, but I can totally see why this game would be a childhood favorite. 15 years after its release, it still holds up pretty well.
Thanks for watching our review here at Woods Gaming Channel. BeatEmUps, yeah. Yep.
See ya.
Thanks for watching our review and having me along for the ride.
Oh jeez, why are you ending this so lame?
You wrote my fucking ending lame.
Oh yeah, I did.